Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Let us continue with our tafsir of Surah Aal-Imraan bihawlillahi wa quwwatih, and we are on ayah number 110. قال الله تعالى: كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله ولو آمن أهل الكتاب لكان خيرا لهم منهم المؤمنون وأكثرهم الفاسقون. So in this ayah, Allah Jalla wa Ala tells us something about this ummah, the ummah of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, that it is the best of the ummah brought out for mankind. And the reason for this follows in the ayah. He says, you order the ma'ruf, the goodness, and you forbid the evil. Munkar, meaning that which is not recognized or rejected. And this is what the previous nations did not do. The Jews and the Christians did not enjoin the good and forbid the evil amongst themselves. This is one of the reasons why they are now deviated. وَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ, and you have iman in Allah, in His rububiyyah, uluhiyyah, and asma wa sifat. And then he says, if the Ahlul Kitab would have believed, meaning to say, believed in the Prophet and his deen, al-Islam, this would have been better for them, meaning better for them in this world and in the hereafter. He says, minhumul mu'minun, from them there are those who are mu'minun. This means to say, from them are those who embrace the deen of al-Islam, such as al-Najashi, and such as Abdullah ibn Salam, and other than them. But these were few. He says that most of them are fasiqun, meaning rebellious. And this refers to kufr here. In the Musnad of Imam Ahmad, there is an authentic narration which says that the Prophet ﷺ said, Antum tufuna sab'ina ummatan, Antum khayruha wa akramuha ala Allahi tabaraka wa ta'ala. You people, meaning the ummah of the Prophet, complete 70 nations. You are the best of them and the most honorable amongst them with Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. Just a quick grammatical point here. He says kuntum, which means you were. It's a past tense. And a past tense is used not because this ummah has passed. Of course, it has not passed. We are in existence right here, right now. But because it is for emphasis. And a past tense is often used for emphasis. As for example, وَكَانَ اللَّهُ غَفُورًا رَحِيمًا. Allah is the Ghafur Rahim. Kana is a past tense, but it's used for emphasis. So, reflecting on this ayah, we pick up the fairly obvious lesson that the ummah of Muhammad ﷺ, which is the largest ummah we find from other evidence, and also the best ummah. But is it not true that Allah Jalla wa Ala says about Banu Israel that He favored them above mankind? The answer is yes, but it was mankind of that time. As for this ummah, it is in the absolute sense the best of all the nations. And it makes sense. It has the best of all prophets. It has the best of all the Sahaba of the prophets. It has the best of the scriptures. And it would then make sense that it has the best of followers as well. We find the reason why we are the best of the ummah, which is enjoining the good and forbidding the evil, and having iman in Allah Jalla wa Ala. It's as simple as that. It's nothing flashy. It's just the basics. And so this should teach us a lesson that if we want to be the best, we have to embody these characteristics, enjoining the good, forbidding the evil, and having perfect iman in Allah. We talked about enjoining the good and forbidding the evil before, in ayah number 104, and this ayah also talks about it, and it seems reasonable enough that this should be a duty on every single one of us to the extent of our capability. We can also take that people differ in their actions. Some are superior to others. Those who enjoin the good, forbid the evil, are superior to those who do not. And as for those Muslims in this ummah who do not enjoin the good and forbid the evil to the extent of their capability, then we know from other evidence where Allah Jalla wa Ala rebukes, for example, Banu Israel for not enjoining the good and forbidding the evil. As He says, كَانُوا لَا يَتَنَاهَوْنَ عن منكر فعلوا. They did not used to forbid the evil that they used to commit. Then anyone from this ummah who does the same thing, then he has a resemblance to the Jews and Christians. We find that most of the Ahlul Kitab are rebellious against Allah and His Messenger. Only a few of them are going to embrace Islam. That was true then, and it is true today. However, this should not prevent us from giving da'wah, because even if no one embraces Islam, giving da'wah is still a duty upon us. Ayah 111. لن يضروكم إلا أذى وإن يقاتلوكم يولوكم الأدبار ثم لا ينصرون. He says in this ayah, they will not harm you, so darar is harm, except adha. So adha is less than darar. So darar would be much more of a major harm, as in threatening your life or limb, and adha would be more like an annoyance. They may say things which anger you or annoy you, or they may do things which anger you or annoy you, but not something which would jeopardize your life or limb. In the tafsir it says that the reason for this ayah is when people like Abdullah ibn Salam embraced Islam, the Yahud wanted to harm him. At least that's what they planned. And so this ayah came down saying that they will not be able to harm you. And it says if they were to fight you, meaning the Ahlul Kitab, they will turn their backs. So adbar is a plural of dubur, back. They will turn their backs. That is, they will flee. And they will not be helped. Rather, it is the Muslimun who will be helped against them. And this is exactly what happened. The 3 Jewish tribes in and around Al-Madinah, which were Banu Nadir, Banu Qaynuqa' and Banu Qurayza, all of them were treacherous and all of them were humiliated. None of them were able to defeat the Prophet and the Sahaba. Likewise with the Christians up north in Asham, their whole empire was conquered. And this is because victory is from Allah Jalla wa Ala. However, it needs to be noted that this ayah is talking about the Prophet and the companions. They will not be harmed. Nowadays, you find that the Muslimin can be harmed. In fact, we see it in Palestine. The Muslimin, since 1948, have been being slaughtered. So that does need to be acknowledged. However, once we become like the companions of the Prophet, then and only then will the kuffar not be able to harm us, only annoy us at best. So this ayah applies for all times and places, except there is a condition, which is that we must become like the companions in terms of how united we are and in terms of following the Sunnah. So that is to say, united upon the Sunnah, just like the companions were. At the moment, the Ummah is divided and in a mess. And we seek Allah's help with this, and we ask Allah to unite the Ummah upon the Sunnah. So, reflecting on this ayah, we find that Allah tells us that the Yahud and Nasara will not be able to harm the Muslimin, that is to say, to overcome them in a battle and to take their land and their wealth. Now, this was certainly the case during the early times of the Muslimin. In fact, it was the other way around. It was the Muslimin who were conquering the Yahud and the Nasara, and even the Persians as well, and all types of kuffar. Of course, nowadays it is different, but like we said, the Ummah is divided. Many people are fighting not for the deen, but for nationalism, and all in all, it is a mess. But that does not mean that the Ummah will not return to how it was in its former state and gain victory thereby once again. In fact, we know that this will happen, but it all depends on the state of the Muslimin. Again, it's all about being united on the Sunnah, not on nationalism or any other cause. We are also told that they will flee in a battle and they will not be helped. So it goes to show us that the victory comes from Allah Jalla wa Ala, not from how powerful your military is, even though we do aim for a powerful military. But our reliance is not on our weapons, it is upon Allah alone, because reliance or tawakkul is an act of ibadah, and if it is directed to anyone other than Allah, then it becomes shirk akbar. Ayah number 112. ضربت عليهم الذلة أينما ثقفوا إلا بحبل من الله وحبل من الناس وباءوا بغضب من الله وضربت عليهم المسكنة ذلك بأنهم كانوا يكفرون بآيات الله ويقتلون الأنبياء بغير حق ذلك بما عصوا وكانوا يعتدون. So the verb daraba means to strike. He's saying that dhulla, meaning humility, will be struck on them, meaning the Ahlul Kitab, but in particular the Yahud. Aynama, wherever, thuqifu, meaning wujidu, wherever they are found. So wherever they may be, they will be humiliated. He says, except with a rope from Allah. We talked about this word rope before, but here a rope means help from Allah, meaning a contract of security. So this would be where they pay the jizya and are secured. This is a contract from Allah, it keeps them safe. The word rope is used because you picture that you're falling down and somebody casts a rope and you hold on to this rope and are then saved. So the rope helps you from falling to your destruction. You can also use this rope to climb up to where you want to reach. Or he says, habl min al-nas, a rope from the people, meaning a covenant of protection from the people. So this means to say that anyone from the Muslim can give a personal protection to a kafir, and the rest of the Muslimin would have to respect this. So one Muslim can give protection to even a harbi, a Muslim man, a Muslim female, as long as they are of sound mind. Even a servant from the Muslimin can offer protection to a harbi. And he says, waba'u, we took this word before, it means to return. They returned and settled on the ghadab, the anger of Allah. So that is to say that the anger of Allah became binding on them. وَضُرِبَتْ, and they were struck. وَضُرِبَتْ, that verb again, alayhim, on them, al-maskana. Now, al-maskana means faqr, poverty. Have the Yahud been struck with poverty? Well, when we say poverty, we do not mean when you are poor in terms of money, but rather you can be poor in terms of always being in need and never being content with what you have. That's why Allah Jalla wa Ala tells us that the Yahud are the most eager for this world. They are never content with what they have. But true richness is when you are content with what you have. So they are always chasing after this world, and they are also in need of protection from other people. So they are poor in that sense as well. Now, why is all of this punishment taking place? Allah gives us the answer. That is because they made kufr in the ayat of Allah. Ayat meaning signs. So this would include the Torah. This would include all the miracles that they saw at the hands of Musa alayhi salam, and that they will kill the prophets without due right. Now, بغير حق is what we call a sifa kashifa. It is simply describing reality. It does not mean to say that it is therefore possible to kill a prophet with due right. So this would be such as Yahya and Zakaria alayhim salatu wasalam. There is a narration from Ibn Mas'ud who says that the Yahud would kill 300 prophets, and at the end of the day they would open up their grocery stores for business, meaning to say it was just all in a day's work. They had no care for what they were doing. And further, he gives more reasons. That is because they asaw, meaning were disobedient to the orders of Allah Jalla wa Ala, of course, in matters of halal and haram and other than that. وَكَانُوا يَعْتَدُونَ. I'tida is when you transgress or overstep the limit. So again, it's disobedience. They would overstep the limits that Allah has set. So when you commit that which is haram, you are overstepping the limit and transgressing. And all of their sin and transgression led to them disbelieving in the last prophet and also changing their Torah, because sin begets more sin. Just like recreational drugs. When you take a fix, you get used to it and then you want a larger dose, and so on. It's the same thing with sin. It's a slippery slope downwards. So reflecting on this ayah, we take that the Yahud will always be humiliated because of their transgressions, as the ayah teaches us. Now if that's the case, then the sunnah of Allah Jalla wa Ala does not change. If those people were humiliated because of their transgressions, then so will people of this ummah be humiliated because of their transgressions. And this will be punishment in this life. So let us take a practical lesson from this ayah, and let us take this ayah as a warning to us. We do not have a special exemption card. The sunnah of Allah will apply to us. We learn that their humiliation could be lifted if they enter into a peace treaty with the Muslimin and they live as the Ahlul Dhimma. This is the rope from Allah which would keep them safe, or the rope from the people. Now this would be when a Muslim would give them protection. We take that ghadab or anger is from the attributes of Allah Jalla wa Ala, sifa fi'liya, and we affirm it in a way that is fitting to Allah Jalla wa Ala, without making tahrif or tamthil or takyif or tafweed. We learn from this ayah the immense rebellious nature of Banu Israel. Killing an innocent person is bad enough, but to murder a prophet is simply outrageous. And it's not just one prophet, many prophets. And then compare these people, the Yahud, to the companions of the last prophet, who venerated the last prophet more than the people of Qaisar and Kisra venerated their kings. The difference is just night and day. هذا والله أعلم.